Thomas's tall friend. The island of Sodor has many wonderful places to visit. Today was a special day. A new animal park was to be opened on Sodor. There were wide open spaces for the animals to live in. All the engines were very excited. Thomas puffed into Brendam docks. He beamed from buffer to buffer.
Good morning, Percy. Good morning, Thomas. Look at my special leaves to feed the animals.
I have rosy red apples for the animals.
And I am to take the mayor and Sir Topham Hatt to open the park.
Do you have a special, Thomas? I am to take the tallest animal on Sodor up to the animal park.
Percy and Edward gasped.
What is it, Thomas?
It's a giraffe.
All the engines wheezed with wonder. They had never seen a giraffe before.
Fizzling fireboxes, Mr. Giraffe. You are very tall.
Edward, Gordon, and Percy were puzzled.
Will he blow over?
Why is he so spotty?
Does he sit down? Of course he'll sit down.
You must wait for the giraffe keeper. The giraffe will do what his keeper tells him.
But Thomas didn't want to wait for the giraffe keeper. He wanted to show the children the tallest animal on Sodor.
Don't worry, Cranky. I'm sure Mr. Giraffe will do what I tell him.
And Thomas puffed proudly out of the docks. Thomas and the giraffe puffed happily along. Children waved and whooped, and Thomas's firebox fizzed with excitement. Thomas slowed as he puffed to a low bridge.
Sit down, Mr. Giraffe.
The giraffe didn't want to sit down. He wanted to see the sights of Sodor. Thomas wished. Then he heard a familiar whistle. It was Gordon. He was taking the mayor and Sir Topham Hatt to the animal park.
Out of the way! Express coming through!
I can't go under the bridge with Mr. Giraffe.
This made Gordon grumpy.
You must go back to the docks for the keeper. The giraffe will do what the keeper tells him.
No, thank you, Gordon. I'm sure Mr. Giraffe will do what I tell him.
So Gordon huffed huffily away. But Thomas didn't know how to make the giraffe sit down. Thomas saw some cows. They munched merrily, then lay lazily in the sun. Edward chuffed up. An idea flew into Thomas's funnel.
Edward, can Mr. Giraffe eat some of your apples?
Why, Thomas?
Because then he will feel sleepy and lie down.
Edward was puzzled, but he wanted to help his friend Thomas.
Thank you, Edward.
The giraffe liked Edward's rosy red apples. He liked them so much, he ate and ate and ate. And he didn't sit down. Edward was upset.
Bubbling boilers! You must go back to the docks for the keeper. The giraffe will do what the keeper tells him.
No, thank you, Edward. I'm sure Mr. Giraffe will do what I tell him.
But Thomas was worried. Sir Topham Hatt and the mayor would be waiting at the animal park. Then, Percy puffed past.
Hello, Thomas. What's the matter? Mr. Giraffe won't sit down. Can he eat some of your leaves? Then he's sure to want to lie down and sleep.
Percy was happy to help his best friend Thomas. The giraffe liked Percy's leaves. He thought they were a wonderful game. Leaves flittered and floated through the air until there were none left at all.
Cinders and ashes. I only wanted you to sit down, Mr. Giraffe.
Suddenly, the giraffe did sit down, and he closed his eyes.
Mr. Giraffe's asleep, Percy. We must steam straight to the animal park.
So, Thomas and Percy clickety-clacked along the track and under the bridge to the animal park. Then there was trouble. The mayor and Sir Topham Hatt were cross. They had waited a long time for the tallest animal on Sodor. But the tallest animal on Sodor was fast asleep.
Wake up, Mr. Giraffe, please!
But the giraffe slept on.
This is a disaster, Thomas.
Thomas felt terrible. There were no rosy red apples, no juicy leaves, and no wide-awake Mr. Giraffe.
I know, sir. It is a disaster. I should have waited for the giraffe keeper. I was silly to think Mr. Giraffe would do what I told him. I'll puff my hardest to the docks and bring the keeper here.
So Thomas pumped his pistons and raced away. The giraffe keeper was at the docks.
I'm sorry to keep you waiting, sir. All aboard!
The giraffe was still asleep when Thomas puffed into the animal park.
I'm sure Mr. Giraffe will wake up now you're here, sir.
And then Thomas chuffed away. He had a lot to do. At Farmer McCall's farm, Thomas picked up more rosy red apples. And from the orchard, more juicy leaves. At last, Thomas puffed and shoved and huffed back to the animal park. Everyone was cheering and clapping Sodor's tallest animal.
Mr. Giraffe, you're awake!
The giraffe heard Thomas's toot. He stretched his long neck up, 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 and then down to Thomas's face.
Welcome to Sodor, Mr. Giraffe.
Henry's Magic Box. The winter holidays are a very special time on Sodor. There are twinkling lights and snowy nights, and there are lots of surprises of all sorts and sizes. One morning, Henry was alone at Tidmouth Sheds. All the other engines were busy. Henry didn't want to be alone. He wanted to be busy like the other engines. Then Sir Topham Hatt arrived. Henry was happy to see him.
Good morning, sir.
Henry, I have a very special for you.
Henry gasped. This was more than he could ever have dreamed of.
Yes, sir. Ready to be really useful, sir.
Henry, you must pick up a very special box from Brendam Docks. Next, you must take the box to Farmer McCall's field. Then, you must go and tell all the other engines to come to Farmer McCall's field at tea time. It's important, Henry, that you take great care of the box. I want to be proud of you.
Henry wished him. He was excited to have such an important job.
Of course, sir. I will take the best care of the box.
Then Sir Topham Hatt left. Henry pumped his pistons and puffed proudly to Brendam Docks. Henry chuffed into Brendam Docks.
This box is special, Henry. You have to take special care of it.
I know, Cranky. That's why Sir Topham Hatt chose me for the job.
And Henry chuffed cheerfully away to Farmer McColl's. Henry huffed in with his very special.
Please be careful with the box.
Henry was worried for his box. It stood all alone. But he had to go and tell the other engines to come to the field at tea time.
I must hurry.
Henry huffed along. He saw Gordon ahead at the junction. But Henry didn't puff on to tell Gordon to be at the field at tea time. Henry was worried about his box alone in the field.
First, I must go and check that my special box is safe.
So, Henry hurried back to the field. Henry heaved to a stop. Then he gasped. Now, there were 5 Christmas trees in the field, but no box.
Fizzling fireboxes! Sir Topham Hatt won't be proud of me now. He will be cross. I must find the box.
Henry steamed swiftly away. Then, Henry met Toby and James at a junction. Henry was too busy looking for the box to notice them.
Hello, Henry.
You look wobbly with worry.
But Henry wasn't listening. He didn't tell Toby and James to be at the field at tea time. There was no box to see. Henry had to find it. Henry huffed hurriedly back to the field. Then his pistons almost popped.
Bust my buffers! Now there are even more Christmas trees. But my very special box is still gone. I must find it.
Henry juddered and jittered to the junction.
Hello, Henry. Emily told us Sir Topham Hatt has given you a very special.
Henry gulped and gasped. He didn't tell Thomas and Percy to be at the field at tea time. There was no box for them to see.
I must hurry.
And Henry raced away. Henry looked everywhere for his box. In fields and fenlands, sidings and stations. He couldn't find the box anywhere. Henry steamed sadly back to the field. Then he gasped.
The empty field is now a forest of Christmas trees, and my special box still isn't here.
Henry, I asked you to do a special job. You haven't done it. It's almost tea time, and the other engines aren't here.
Henry wished weakly. His firebox flickered.
I'm sorry, sir. I've let you down. I haven't looked after the very special box. It has disappeared. I haven't told any of the engines to be here, and you won't be proud of me.
Sir Topham Hatt sighed.
Henry, you are an old and kind engine, but you worry too much. Where do you think the forest came from?
Henry wheezed steam and bubbled his boiler. He really wanted to find the answer. He didn't want Sir Topham Hatt to think he was silly. Then the answer flew into his funnel.
The trees were in the box, sir. That's why the box isn't here, and the Christmas trees are.
That's right, Henry. You looked after the box very well. Now, go and do the rest of your job.
Henry smiled from buffer to buffer.
Yes, sir. We'll all be here at tea time.
And Henry pumped his pistons and chuffed cheerfully away. First, Henry found Gordon and Emily.
Sir Topham Hatt wants you to go straight to Farmer McCall's field. Hurry, please. No time to waste.
Next, Henry steamed to Tidmouth Sheds. Thomas, Percy, and Edward were there.
Sir Topham Hatt wants you to go straight to Farmer McCall's field. Hurry, please. No time to rest.
Henry puffed into Knapford Station. His cheeks were as red as James's paintwork. James was talking to the station master.
Sir Topham Hatt wants you to go straight to Farmer McCall's field. Hurry, please, James. No time to talk.
At last, Henry found Toby at the water tower.
Sir Topham Hatt wants you to go straight to Farmer McCall's field. Hurry, please, Toby. No time to take on water.
And Henry wheeshed away. He felt a very happy engine. Henry arrived back at Farmer McCall's field just in time for tea time. All the other engines were there, but Sir Topham Hatt wasn't. Henry felt silly. Again.
I'm sorry, everyone. I thought Sir Topham Hatt was going to be here. Perhaps I was wrong.
Suddenly, the Christmas trees were a forest of twinkling lights. Red, blue, green, yellow, sparkling in the darkness. The engines gasped in surprise.
Fizzling fireboxes.
This is wonderful.
Then, there was the greatest surprise of all. Sir Topham Hatt stepped through the trees. He looked just like Santa Claus.
Ho, ho, ho! Happy winter holidays to all my really useful engines!
Henry's eyes popped as wide as his wheels. This had been the best winter holiday special of all. James in the dark. The sun was setting at the end of another busy day on the island of Sodor. All the engines were very excited. Alicia Botti was to sing in the town square that evening. Sir Topham Hatt had a very special job for James.
James, you will bring Alicia Botti, the mayor, and the Sodor brass band to the concert.
Yes, sir.
It will be very dark tonight. You must have a lamp fitted.
Yes, sir.
James puffed happily to the steamworks. Victor and Kevin were there.
Hello, James, my friend. Your paintwork looks especially shiny.
That made James very happy.
That's because everyone must look their best for the concert tonight. Sorry, boss. Slip of the hook.
A workman brought a lamp for James. James didn't like the lamp.
This lamp will make me look silly. Everyone at the concert will look their best except me.
The workman tried to fit the lamp to James's boiler. Then to his buffer. Then to his funnel. The workman had tried his best, but still James did not like his lamp.
It makes me look silly. I will not wear that silly lamp.
And James puffed huffily out of the steamworks to pick up the very important visitors. Later at the next junction, James met an engine. The engine was Thomas. Thomas's lamp was shining brightly.
Hello, James. Where's your lamp?
It was dark now. James couldn't see which engine was there.
Lamps just make engines look silly. Goodbye, Henry.
I'm not Henry. I'm Thomas.
But James didn't hear. He was already puffing away into the darkness. The evening became darker and darker. Now James could see even less. Then there was trouble. There was a station ahead.
This is where I pick up Alicia, Botti, and the mayor. All aboard!
But James hadn't picked up Alicia, Botti, and the mayor. He had picked up Farmer McColl and his prize cow. James hadn't seen them on the platform. It was too dark. James could hardly see anything. At the next junction, James met an engine. The engine was Edward. Edward had his lamp on.
Hello, James. Where's your lamp?
James couldn't see which engine was there.
Lamps make engines look silly. Goodbye, Percy.
I'm not Percy. I'm Edward.
But James didn't hear. He was already chuffing into the darkness. The night was now very dark.
This is where I pick up the Sodor brass band.
But it wasn't the Sodor brass band. It was Farmer Trotter and his herd of prize pigs.
All aboard!
But James couldn't see them on the platform. James couldn't see anything. It was too dark. At last, James chuffed into the town hall. Sir Topham Hatt was waiting.
Here I am, sir. I have picked up all our very important visitors.
James, what have you done? You have brought Farmer McColl and his cow, and Farmer Trotter and his pigs. I was expecting Alicia, Botti, and the mayor.
James felt terrible.
Bust my buffers. I thought a lamp made me look silly. Now I really look silly. I'm sorry, sir. This is all my fault.
Sir Topham Hatt was cross.
Please, sir, I will have my lamp fixed. Then I will race like the wind to deliver Farmer McColl and Farmer Trotter to Brendam. Later, I will pick up the very important visitors.
Just then, Thomas puffed in. He had the workman with James's lamp in his cab. This time, James let the workman fit the lamp, and he didn't feel silly. Edward steamed in.
Hello, James. Your lamp looks good.
I know. Now I can see really well in the dark.
But you are still late, James.
James was worried. Then, an idea flew into his funnel.
Sir, can Thomas and Edward pick up the visitors? And I will go to Brendam.
That's a good idea, James. Then you must come straight back here.
Yes, sir.
So, James set off for Brendam Docks. His new lamp glowed brightly in the dark. James arrived at the docks just in time.
Goodbye!
Then, James pumped his pistons. He set off once more for the town hall. James chuffed happily along. Now, he could see everything in the dark. James liked having a lamp.
I can see how beautiful Sodor looks at night.
James puffed into the town square. Alicia Botti was singing sweetly. Then James gasped. There was another surprise. Thomas and Edward were using their strong lamps to light the concert.
Please, sir, may I shine my lamp on Miss Botti? Then everyone will see her for miles around.
Very well, James.
Now, James didn't feel silly at all. He felt very, very important. And when Alicia Botti smiled at him, James couldn't have felt more proud of his bright, beaming lamp. Pingy, Pongy, pickup. It was an exciting day on the island of Sodor. It was the opening game for the Sodor United soccer team. All the engines huffed and puffed to be ready on time. Sir Topham Hatt arrived at Tidmouth Sheds.
Today is a very busy day. One engine must take the Sodor United team to the soccer field. One engine must take the fans. One must deliver the apples for the halftime break. And the other must collect the dirty washing from Maithwaite Station and take it to the laundry lady.
The engines wheezed happily.
Now I must hurry. Thomas, you will decide which engine does which job.
Emily was very excited.
Soccer is my favorite game. I always puff past the soccer field when the Sodor United team is playing. Did you know that the goalkeeper has a lucky pair of gloves?
Emily was so busy boasting, she didn't hear her friends.
I'll take the team to the soccer field.
I'll take the fans.
And I'll take the apples for halftime break.
Wait a minute! What am I going to do?
You can take the dirty washing, Emily.
Stinky washing? I know all about the Sodor United team. I wanted the most important job. Delivering the washing isn't the most important job.
Emily huffed huffily to a junction. She was cross.
I don't want to puff to Maithwaite to collect the stinky washing.
Then Emily saw Percy chuff across the bridge. He was on his way to Farmer McColl's farm to collect the apples.
Percy has a very important job. I'm sure I can help him.
So Emily didn't chuff to Maithwaite. She took the track to Farmer McColl's farm instead. Emily huffed her hardest to Farmer McColl's. Percy was being coupled up to the car of apples.
Hello, Percy. I'll help you. I'll be your back engine.
No, thank you, Emily. I'm fine.
But Emily wanted to help. So Emily buffered up to the other end of the freight car. She began to pull.
Fizzling fireboxes.
But Percy was pulling the car from the other side. Then there was trouble. Emily pulled so hard that the coupling broke. The apple car tumbled off the tracks. Apples bounced and rolled everywhere. Percy was cross.
I don't need your help, Emily. This is my job. Your job is to collect the washing.
Emily didn't want to collect the washing, so she steamed slowly away.
I want to help my team win the day. Picking up dirty washing won't help them play.
Emily clickety-clacked to a junction. Then Emily saw James. James had collected the Sodor United fans.
James has a very important job. I'm sure I can help him with that.
So, Emily pumped her pistons. She had to puff to the junction before James.
James, stop! I can help you with your important job. I'll be your back engine. Then the fans will arrive more quickly.
But James was going too fast to stop.
Out of my way, Emily!
But Emily didn't chuff out of the way. James had to screech into a siding. His wheels whirred, and he bumped into the buffers. Luckily, no one was hurt, but James was cross.
Thank you, Emily. I don't need your help. This is my job. Your job is to collect the dirty washing.
This made Emily cross. She really didn't want to puff the Maithwaite to collect the washing. James steamed snootily away with the passenger cars of fans.
I want the most important job. I want to help my team win the day. Picking up dirty washing won't help them play.
Then, Thomas puffed past with Annie and Clarabelle. Thomas was going to collect the Sodor United soccer team.
Thomas has a very important job. I'm sure I can help him with that.
Emily pumped her pistons and wheeshed after Thomas. Emily chuffed into the town square. She screeched to a stop. The Sodor United soccer team was waiting, and Sir Topham Hatt was cross.
Emily, where are the team's clean soccer shirts and shorts?
Emily was puzzled. Then she gasped.
Fizzling fireboxes. The stinky washing was the team's soccer shirts and shorts.
Emily felt terrible.
I didn't take the washing to the laundry lady. Now the team have nothing to wear for the opening game. The game can't take place. And it's all my fault.
Emily felt very silly.
I thought that all the other jobs were more important than mine. Now I see that all jobs are important. I'm very sorry, sir. I'm very sorry, team.
Emily wheezed weakly.
Please, sir, I'll puff my hardest and make sure the team have clean soccer shirts and shorts in time for the opening game.
Emily collected the soccer shirts and shorts from Maithwaite Station. Then she huffed and puffed to Marin Station. The laundry lady quickly washed the clothes.
These shirts and shorts are soaking wet. They won't be dry in time for the opening game.
Emily was very worried. Then an idea flew into Emily's funnel.
Please tie the wet washing to my funnel. The washing can dry in the wind as I race to the town square.
Emily chuffed and puffed proudly along the tracks. The wet soccer shirts and shorts flapped and fluttered in the wind.
Now, the team will have clean washing for the game. My team will be clean and ready to play. Go Sodor United, the best team today! Hooray!
Everyone waved to Emily, and Emily tooted back. Emily huffed happily into the town square. She was just in time for the soccer game.
Here are your clean, dry soccer shirts and shorts.
The Sodor United soccer team cheered and clapped. Emily felt very important.
Good luck for the game. 2, 4, 6, 8. We're the team who won't be late. Sodor United!
Everyone laughed and laughed. And Emily blew her whistle loudest of all. Charlie and Eddie. On the island of Sodor, All the engines are proud to work for Sir Topham Hatt's railway. They chuff and puff, and heave and haul their hardest to make sure Sir Topham Hatt is proud of them. One morning, Sir Topham Hatt's car had broken down. Edward was to take the car to Marin Station. The mechanic was waiting there to fix it. Edward was proud to help Sir Topham Hatt. Just then, Charlie chuffed cheerily in.
Good morning, Charlie.
Hello, Edward. You want to hear a good joke? Where do crocodiles keep their money?
I don't know.
In a riverbank.
But Edward didn't laugh. He didn't even smile.
I have an important job to do. I have to take Sir Topham Hatt's car to Marin Station to be fixed. He needs it this evening. I must hurry.
Charlie sighed.
You know, Edward, maybe you're too old to be fun.
Edward stopped. He didn't like being told that he was too old to be fun. He thought he was as much fun as any young engine.
I can be a lot of fun, Charlie.
Then show me.
Edward huffed and puffed. He knew he should chuff carefully to Marin Station with Sir Topham Hatt's car. But he also knew Charlie wouldn't think that was fun. So, Edward decided not to take the careful track.
Follow me, Charlie. I'll take you on the bumpiest and jumpiest, the twistiest and turniest tracks to Marin Station. Then you'll see just how much fun I can be.
I'm ready, Eddie.
So Edward puffed away to Marin Station, with Charlie chuffing close behind. First, Edward and Charlie clickety-clacked along the bumpiest tracks. They jiggled and joggled, and they bumped and they jumped.
Whee! This is fun.
Next, Edward and Charlie rattled round some of the bendiest bends.
Fizzling fireboxes! I didn't think you'd be this much fun, Edward!
This made Edward happy. Edward and Charlie rocked and they rolled. They giggled and jiggled, and they told jokes.
Okay, Charlie, I have a joke for you. How do you know when an engine is eating?
I don't know, Eddie. Tell me.
You hear it chewing.
That's a good one, Eddie. You really are the most fun of all.
At last, Edward and Charlie puffed into Marin Station. Thomas was there, but there was no mechanic on the platform.
Hello, Edward. The mechanic was waiting for you. Now he's left on Bertie the bus.
Suddenly, Edward was worried.
Oh, my. I spent too much time on the bumpy and bendy tracks having fun.
Charlie sighed.
Is that as much fun as you could be, Edward?
Edward didn't like that.
No! I can be much more fun than that. We'll chase Bertie the bus to catch up with the mechanic.
Good idea! I'm ready, Eddie!
So, Edward and Charlie pumped their pistons and chuffed off for the chase. Edward and Charlie raced and chased after Bertie the bus. They thundered through crossings. They flew over bridges. And they clattered through tunnels. But Edward and Charlie couldn't catch up with Bertie.
Flat my funnel, that was fun!
Now, Edward was even more worried. He had not done his job. Sir Topham Hatt would be cross.
I think we should stop at the next junction. Then we can ask the signalman to send a message to the mechanic.
I was right. You are too old to be fun.
Edward didn't like that. Then, an idea flew into his funnel.
We'll take Sir Topham Hatt's car to the steamworks to be fixed. It's always fun there.
Charlie was surprised.
Bubbling boilers, Edward! That will be the most fun of all! I'm ready, Eddie!
So Charlie and Edward puffed off to the steamworks. Charlie and Edward steamed in.
Hello, Kevin. Where's Victor?
Hello, Edward. Victor has gone to pick up a part. Can I help?
I'd like you to fix Sir Topham Hatt's car.
Kevin was surprised.
Sling my hook. We don't fix cars.
I'm sure you can. We will be back later to pick up the car.
Edward, you're not too old to have fun. You're the most fun of all.
That made Edward very happy. Later, Charlie and Edward returned. Kevin was very excited.
Here you are, Edward.
Kevin trundled to one side. He giggled giddily. There was Sir Topham Hatt's car with a funnel on its roof.
It's a fun funnel.
Edward gasped. Just then, Sir Topham Hatt arrived. He didn't think the funnel was fun at all.
Edward, what have you done to my car?
Edward felt terrible.
I'm sorry, sir. I was trying to be really useful and really fun. But it has all gone wrong. This is a disaster. I wish I had just been really useful.
So do I, Edward.
Please, sir. I can take you and Lady Hatt this evening. Then, tomorrow morning, your car will be fixed.
Very well, Edward.
Edward had puffed into Knapford Station with Sir Topham and Lady Hatt. Charlie was there.
Hello, Eddie. I'm ready for more fun.
Not now, Charlie. It's not the time for fun. It's the time to be really useful. I have to hurry to the steamworks.
Edward puffed into the steamworks. Charlie chuffed close behind.
Would you like to hear another joke, Edward?
No, thank you, Charlie. This isn't the time for jokes. I have to collect Sir Topham Hatt's car. Kevin, please take the funnel off Sir Topham Hatt's car. It was fun, but it wasn't really useful.
Right, boss. Edward, whatever you say.
Thank you, Kevin.
Later, Edward puffed out of the steamworks with Sir Topham Hatt's car. It was as good as new and funnel-free. All along the track, as Edward clickety-clacked, children whistled and waved.
This is fun.
And Charlie had to agree. Toby and the Whistling Woods. There had been a storm on the island of Sodor. The skies were still gray, and the clouds were still heavy, as the engines huffed and puffed. Toby was puffing proudly to Knapford Station. Sir Topham Hatt had a very special for him.
Toby, the Duke and Duchess of Boxford are arriving at tea time. They need coal to warm their house. You must deliver it right away.
Toby was very excited to be given such an important job. He had never delivered to the Duke and Duchess of Boxford's house before.
Right away, sir.
You must go through the Whistling Woods. The other track to the house is blocked. A tree fell across it in the storm.
Toby was worried. He had never taken the track through the Whistling Woods. He had always puffed along the other track.
I don't like the Whistling Woods. I think it's dark in there and full of strange noises.
But today, Toby would have to puff through the Whistling Woods. Toby chuffed up to Whistling Woods Junction. James and Thomas were there. They were shunting freight cars.
Hello, Toby.
But Toby didn't say hello to his friend Thomas. He was too busy looking at the Whistling Woods.
You look worried, Toby.
Toby was worried, but he wanted to be brave.
Hello, Thomas. I have to take this coal to the Duke and Duchess's house. I have to chuff through the Whistling Woods.
Then Toby's signal turned green. But he didn't chuff away. Thomas and James were puzzled.
Are you scared of the Whistling Woods, Toby?
Toby didn't want James to think he was a scaredy engine.
No, I'm not.
Thomas wanted to help his friend.
I can chuff through the woods with you, Toby.
Toby wanted Thomas's help, but he was an old engine.
Old engines can't be scaredy engines. I can't ask young engines for help.
So, Toby pumped his pistons.
No, thank you, Thomas. I don't need your help.
And Toby chuffed off into the Whistling Woods, all by himself. Toby's boiler jittered and juddered. The woods were very dark, and the trees looked very big. Toby wanted to be a brave engine, and not a scaredy engine.
I'm not scared of the Whistling Wood. I'll puff straight on, like Thomas would.
Suddenly, Toby heard a strange sound. It made his wheels wobble.
What was that?
Then, Toby heard the noise again.
Bust my buffers! These woods are too scary for me.
Toby huffed hard backwards out of the Whistling Woods, straight into the two freight cars James and Thomas had shunted. Thomas and James were surprised, and so was Toby.
Fizzling fireboxes! I'm sorry.
What happened, Toby? Were you scared?
I can puff through the woods with you, Toby.
Toby did want James's help, but he still thought old engines couldn't ask young ones for help.
No, thank you, James. I don't need your help.
So, Toby puffed back into the Whistling Woods, all by himself. Toby chuffed further and further.
I'm not scared of the Whistling Wood. I'll puff straight on, like Thomas would.
Then, he heard another strange noise.
Pumping pistons! What's that? These woods are far too scary.
So, Toby huffed his hardest out of the Whistling Woods, straight into the four freight cars James and Thomas had shunted. Toby was upset.
Trembling trucks! I'm sorry.
Once again, Thomas wanted to help his friend Toby.
Toby, let us help you puff through the woods.
We can puff through with you.
Toby really wanted James and Thomas's help, but he still thought old engines couldn't ask young ones for help.
No, thank you.
So, Toby puffed back into the Whistling Woods all by himself. He clickety-clacked along the track.
I'm not scared of the Whistling Wood. I'll puff straight on, like Thomas would.
Then, Toby heard the strangest noise of all.
Trembling trams! What's that noise?
Toby's boiler bubbled and his wheels wobbled. He pumped his pistons and raced back out of the woods, straight into the 6 freight cars Thomas and James had shunted. Toby felt terrible.
Oh, no! This is a disaster! I've spoilt your freight cars. The Duke and Duchess won't get their coal on time. And I'm an old and scaredy engine.
Toby looked at his friends. They weren't calling him a scaredy engine. Toby could see they were worried for him.
I'm sorry. I thought an old engine couldn't ask for help. But now I see that you're never too old to ask for help. Please, will you puff through the whistling woods with me?
Thomas and James were happy to help.
Of course, Toby. Follow us.
Soon, Toby's freight car was full of coal. Then, Toby followed James and Thomas into the whistling woods. Slowly, Toby, Thomas, and James chuffed and puffed along the track.
There's my friend, the snowy owl.
The snowy owl flew above their heads. It was sweet and fluffy.
Oh, my!
Toby couldn't believe he had been scared of the friendly owl. Then, Toby heard another noise.
What's that?
It's the woodland waterfall. Look!
The waterfall was wonderful. It tinkled and sparkled. It clattered and splattered on the stones.
Buffers and bumpers.
That's beautiful.
Then, the engines heard a noise that was very, very strange.
What's that? It's the wind whistling through the woods.
It's the whistling woods.
Toby smiled. He wasn't a scaredy engine anymore. He was very happy he had asked his friends for help.
I may be old, but now I'm happy.
And Toby smiled all the way to the Duke and Duchess's house. Henry's health and safety. The engines of Sodor all want to be really useful. Their wheels whir, their pistons pump, and their boilers bubble brightly. But sometimes things can go wrong. One morning, Henry was huffing happily. He clickety-clacked around a bend, straight into an old freight car.
Flatten my funnel. Who left that there?
Henry's piston rods were bumped and bent.
Oh, my! Henry! I will shunt you to the steamworks.
Thank you, hero.
Victor was pleased to see Henry.
Kevin and I will have your pistons pumping by lunchtime.
We will, boss.
So, you bashed into an old freight car, Henry.
Someone must have left it there.
Health and safety, Henry.
Henry was an old engine, but he didn't know what health and safety was.
Health and safety, Henry, is watching out for things that might make accidents happen.
And you, Henry, had an accident. Bam!
Later, Henry was fixed.
Watch out now for health and safety. Anything dangerous must be taken away. If not, bam!
Thank you, Victor.
And Henry chuffed carefully out of the steamworks. Henry chuffed and puffed. Then he saw a flatbed of telegraph poles. One pole rolled slowly off and onto the tracks. Henry was worried.
Bust my buffers! An accident could happen here. I must get Rocky.
Henry puffed into the rescue center.
Rocky, come quickly.
Rocky was worried.
You'll have to ask the rescue manager. I might be needed for an emergency.
This is an emergency. Health and safety.
Rocky was puzzled, but health and safety sounded important. So Henry shunted Rocky quickly away. Henry and Rocky puffed to the poles.
Lift them out of the way, Rocky.
Later, Rocky and Henry had put the flatbed safely into a siding. Henry was pleased with himself.
Health and safety is the way to keep the tracks clear every day.
You're right, Henry. Now I have to go back to the rescue center.
Hello, Percy.
Percy was puzzled.
Bubbling boilers? I thought there were telegraph poles here.
Health and safety, Percy.
And Henry puffed away with Rocky. Henry and Rocky chuffed to a junction. Henry saw 4 large rolls of wire. Henry was worried.
Oh my, Rocky. If one of those rolls across the junction, an accident might happen. We must move it.
Aren't you gonna ask first, Henry?
This is an emergency. Health and safety.
Later, the rolls of wire were safely in a siding. Henry was happy.
Health and safety is the way to keep the tracks clear every day.
You're right, Henry. Now I have to go back to the rescue center.
Then, Henry saw Percy again.
Hello, Percy.
Flatten my funnel. I thought there were rolls of wire here.
Health and safety, Percy.
Percy was puzzled.
Now the telegraph poles and the wire have gone.
But Henry was too far away to hear. Henry was steaming slowly to the rescue center. Then Percy raced past.
Cool your pistons, Percy. Slow and careful is the way. Health and safety every day.
But Percy was in too much of a hurry to hear. Later, Henry and Rocky chuffed cheerfully along. Suddenly, Percy whooshed round a bend and stopped.
Oh, no!
Oh, dear.
What's happened, Percy?
I've puffed too far too fast. Now I've run out of water.
Henry was worried.
Rocky will have to move you, Percy. Health and safety.
And before Percy could wheesh another word, he was swinging high above the track from Rocky's long crane arm. Then there was trouble. Sir Topham had arrived. He was cross.
Rocky, what are you doing with Percy?
It's health and safety, sir.
Health and safety have a time and a place, Henry. But now there is an emergency. I need Rocky to help Toby. And Percy has looked all over the island for the telegraph poles and wire he has to deliver.
Henry felt terrible.
I should have asked if I could take Rocky, and I should have asked Percy about the poles and wires. I'm sorry, sir. I wanted to stop accidents, but instead, I have made them happen. May I take Rocky now to the emergency?
Yes, Henry. Right away.
So Percy was lowered with a bump and a jump. Then Henry raced Rocky to Toby. Toby's cowcatcher had caught, and he had derailed. This was an emergency.
Now I must help Percy.
On the way, Henry saw an old freight car on the track. He was worried.
Fizz whistling fireboxes! Health and safety!
Then Henry saw Thomas.
Thomas, why's this old freight car here?
Don't worry, Henry. I have to shunt it to the coal yard.
Henry felt happy he had asked, and he puffed quickly on. Henry picked up the rolls of wire and the telegraph poles. Then he chuffed cheerfully away to find Percy. Henry found Percy by the water tower. Percy couldn't puff. A tree had fallen across his track.
Oh dear, Percy! Can I help?
Yes, please, Henry.
Henry knew just what to do. Henry chuffed to find Rocky.
Health and safety is the way. Just ask first to save the day.
Diesel's special delivery. It was market day on the island of Sodor. The engines were very busy, chuffing and puffing, taking freight cars of fruit and vegetables to market. Diesel wasn't going to market. He had to take slates to the school. The school roof was broken, and it was going to rain. The roof needed the slates to be fixed. Diesel clanked through Maithwaite Station. James was there. Children were clapping and cheering. James was very proud.
I have been clapped and cheered all morning. I have a very special.
Diesel was puzzled. What's so special about your special? Then, Diesel saw that James was taking pretty round pink piglets to Farmer Trotter's farm. I never have pretty pink piglets to deliver. I am never clapped and cheered.
That's because you are a diesel. Special coming through!
And James whooshed proudly out of the station. Diesel clattered off. He wanted to follow James. He wanted to be clapped and cheered. Then, along the track, Diesel saw Thomas. Thomas was puffing to market. He had a freight car of round, shiny apples. Where are you going with those apples, Thomas?
I'm taking them to market. I must hurry. I have a very busy day.
Then, Diesel had an idea. Those apples are just as pretty as James's piglets. If I take them, I will be clapped and cheered just like James. So, Diesel oiled next to Thomas. I'm not busy today. I can take your apples to market. Thomas was surprised.
Thank you, Diesel.
So, Diesel left his slate in a siding. He was coupled up to Thomas's freight car of round, shiny apples and hurried to be cheered and clapped just like James. Diesel found James at Marin Station. Children were on the platform. They were clapping and cheering James and his piglets.
Yay! You're the best!
Nobody cheered and clapped Diesel and his round, shiny apples. Diesel was upset. I thought my apples were just as pretty as James's piglets. I will find something else that is sure to be cheered and clapped. Diesel clanked and clattered away. Then, Diesel saw Rosie. Rosie was pulling a flatbed of pretty bright flowers. Where are you going with those flowers, Rosie?
I'm taking them to market. I must hurry. I'm very very busy.
Then Diesel had another idea.
Those flowers are as pretty as James's piglets. If I pull those flowers, I will be clapped and cheered, just like James. I'm not busy today, Rosie. I will take your flowers to market for you.
Rosie was surprised.
Thank you, Diesel.
Diesel was coupled up to Rosie's pretty bright flowers. Diesel felt very happy. Soon, Diesel saw James at a crossing. Children were cheering and clapping. Diesel oiled to a stop with his apples and flowers. No one cheered and clapped. Diesel was upset.
I thought my apples and flowers were just as pretty as James's pretty pink piglets. But no one is cheering or clapping.
James puffed proudly away. Diesel clung crossly to market. Diesel clattered back from market. He passed Farmer Trotter's farm. There was James's wagon of pretty pink piglets. Then Diesel had a very special idea.
If I take James's piglets to the school children, they are sure to clap and cheer.
So Diesel buffered up to the piglet's wagon. And he hooted happily away, as fast as his wheels could rattle. Diesel arrived at the school. He saw children standing outside.
Rattling rods. They are sure to clap and cheer me now.
But the children didn't clap and they didn't cheer. The children were wet and they were worried.
Trembling tracks. The children don't want to see pretty pink piglets. They want a new roof for their school.
Then there was trouble. Sir Topham had arrived on Thomas. He was cross.
Diesel, what are you doing with James's piglets? And where is the slate for the school roof?
Diesel felt terrible.
I'm sorry, sir. I have been very silly. I brought the piglets to show the children because I wanted to be clapped and cheered. But now I see that the children don't want pretty pink piglets. They want a new roof for their school.
That's right, Diesel. You must put this right. Now.
Diesel clattered away. He wanted the children to be happy. Diesel rattled and raced. He had forgotten all about being clapped and cheered. He only wanted to be really useful.
I must get back to the school with the slate before it rains again.
Diesel arrived at Farmer Trotter's farm.
I'm sorry, Farmer Trotter. I took your piglets to show to the children. I wanted to be cheered and clapped like James. But now, I know I should have taken the slate to the school. That was much more important.
Farmer Trotter was happy to have his piglets back, and Diesel was happy to hurry to pick up the slate. Soon, Diesel was racing back to the school, as fast as his wheels could whir. Diesel wheezed into the school. The children were still waiting.
Don't worry, children. Here are the slates for your roof.
The children clapped and cheered.
Yeah! Hooray for Diesel! Now he won't be wet. Hip, hip, hooray for Diesel! Hooray for Diesel! Hip, hooray for Diesel! Now he won't be wet.
Diesel heard the children cheer. He saw them clap.
I have never been happier.
Pop goes Thomas. It was summer on the island of Sodor. Engines puffed and chuffed happily in the sunshine. The children were excited. Today was their summer picnic in the Whispering Woods. Thomas was excited too. He had a very special.
This is the lemonade for the school picnic, Thomas. You must take it to Whispering Woods Halt.
Yes, sir.
Thomas had never carried lemonade before. He puffed proudly out of Knapford Station. On the way, Thomas went over some bumpy track.
Fizzling fireboxes!
Rattle, rattle, shake, shake went the lemonade in Thomas's freight car. And then, pop went one of the corks. Thomas couldn't see what had made the popping sound.
Bust my buffers! That noise was very funny.
Thomas stopped at a junction.
The Whispering Woods Halt is straight ahead. But if I take the left track, it's bumpier. Maybe then I'll hear the funny popping noise again. I'd like that.
So, Thomas took the left track. The track was very bumpy.
Whoa! If I bounce along the track, perhaps that sound will soon come back. The sound that makes me smile and giggle when I puff on tracks that jiggle.
Rattle, rattle, shake, shake, wobble the lemonade. Pop, 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 burst the corks.
Oh! That sound makes me very happy.
Then Thomas saw Mr. Bubbles the clown. He was going to the school picnic too.
Hello, Mr. Bubbles. Isn't this the funniest noise you've heard?
A popping cork hit Mr. Bubbles. It knocked his big red nose off. But Thomas didn't know he'd knocked off Mr. Bubbles' red nose. He was too busy thinking about the next bit of bumpy track.
That was fun. I know where there is some even bumpier track ahead. That means more funny popping.
This track was very bumpy indeed.
If I bounce along the track, perhaps that sound will soon come back. The sound that makes me smile and giggle when I puff on tracks that jiggle.
Rattle, rattle, shake, shake, wobbled the lemonade. Pop, 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 pinged the corks. Right into a field of pigs. The pigs were surprised as corks dropped and plopped into the mud around them.
What a jolly noise!
Then Thomas saw some bakers. They were waiting outside the bakery. They were waiting for Emily. Emily was coming to pick up the cakes for the picnic.
Isn't this the funniest noise you've heard?
Popping corks hit the bakers and the cakes. All the cakes were spoiled. But Thomas still didn't notice. He was too busy thinking about the next bit of bumpy track.
If I take this track, it will be the bumpiest track on the whole of Sodor. If I bounce along the track, perhaps that sound will soon come back. The sound that makes me smile and giggle when I puff on tracks that jiggle.
Rattle, rattle, shake, shake, jiggled the lemonade. Pop, 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 pop the corks. Then Thomas saw James. James was taking the children to the picnic.
Hello, James. Isn't this noise the funniest noise you've heard?
But James didn't think it was funny at all when a cork bounced off his shiny red paint.
Flatten my funnel! What was that?
Then there was trouble. The popping corks hit the signalman. He was so surprised, he pulled the wrong lever. The tracks changed. James was sent into a siding. James bumped the buffers. Luckily, no one was hurt. But still, Thomas didn't notice. He was having a wonderful time. At last, Thomas arrived at Whispering Woods Halt. Sir Topham Hatt wasn't happy.
Thomas, you have caused confusion and delay. Mr. Bubbles has lost his nose. Now he will be late. When Emily arrived to pick up the cakes, they were spoiled. James has bumped the buffers, and the bottles in your freight car have lost their corks. The lemonade is all gone.
Suddenly, the very last cork popped and knocked Sir Topham Hatt's hat right off his head. Sir Topham Hatt was surprised. Thomas gasped.
Cinders and ashes. The funny popping sound that made me laugh must have been the corks. This is all my fault, sir.
Thomas felt terrible. Now the children couldn't have their picnic.
I could put this right, sir.
Thomas pumped his pistons and chuffed quickly away. First, Thomas puffed to the bakery. The bakers had baked more cakes, and they were loaded onto Thomas's freight cars. Then, Thomas chuffed to Knapford for more lemonade. He saw Mr. Bubbles. Mr. Bubbles had bought a new red nose.
I'm sorry about your nose, sir. And I'm sorry I made you late. Now, may I take you to the picnic?
That's a splendid idea, Thomas.
Soon, Thomas was steaming back to Whispering Woods Halt. On the way, Thomas told Mr. Bubbles all about the popping corks.
They made a very funny sound. It made me laugh. It made me happy.
Soon, Thomas, you will hear a sound that makes you feel even happier.
Thomas was puzzled. This time at the junction, Thomas took the flat track straight to Whispering Woods Halt. Thomas arrived at Whispering Woods Halt just in time. Not one of the corks had popped. The children saw Thomas had brought Mr. Bubbles and the cakes. Thomas listened to the children, laughing and cheering.
Now, Thomas, that is the happiest sound of all.
You're right, Mr. Bubbles.
And Thomas laughed loudest of all. Victor says yes. On the island of Sodor, the engines like to puff and huff their hardest. Sometimes they huff too hard. Their pistons pop. Their traction rods rattle. And then they must go to the steamworks to be fixed. Victor liked fixing engines, and he liked being busy. And today was a very busy day at the steamworks. Cars and engines were everywhere.
Hurry up with those valves. We don't have all day, you know.
Percy was waiting to be painted,
I'd like to be gleaming and green, please, Victor.
and Edward had to be fixed.
My broken boiler is bothering me, Victor.
Victor clickety-clacked along the tracks from one engine to another.
I know, my friends. You all need to be fixed. And you all want to be fixed right away. But I only have one set of wheels, you know.
Then Sir Topham Hatt arrived on Gordon. Gordon spluttered and stuttered as he steamed.
Victor, Gordon's valves are blocked. They must be cleaned as soon as possible. The children are going on a boat trip. Gordon must be ready to take them to the docks at tea time.
Victor was worried. There was no room for Gordon in the steamworks, and the workmen were all busy. But Victor didn't want to upset Sir Topham Hatt.
Of course, sir. I will have Gordon puffing perfectly in no time.
That made Sir Topham Hatt very happy.
Well done, Victor. I'm pleased to see that you are a really useful engine. Really useful engines do their best, and they are the best.
Thank you, sir.
Thomas chuffed cheerfully up to his friend.
Oh my, Victor. Sir Topham Hatt is very pleased with you.
Victor puffed with pride.
Thank you, Thomas, my friend. Now, what can I do for you?
I have a loose footplate.
Victor knew he had too much to do. He knew he didn't have time to fix Thomas's footplate, but he wanted to be the best. He wanted to be a really useful engine.
Come on in, my friend. I'll fix your footplate. Gordon, chuff back to let Thomas in. Come on, move over, everyone, please.
What about my blocked valves?
And my broken boiler.
And my gleaming green paint.
And our valves.
We were here first.
Sorry, boss. It's a slip of the hook.
Victor huffed and heaved.
All in good time, my friends. Fix Thomas's footplate, please.
Then Emily steamed in. She had to collect an important visitor from Brendam Docks.
Emily, my friend. Hello. What can I do for you?
My buffers need a perfect polish.
Victor knew he had too much to do. He knew he didn't have time to polish Emily's buffers. But he wanted to be the best. He wanted to be a really useful engine.
Come along in, Emily, my friend. I will have your buffers polished perfectly.
Emily wheezed and squeezed in front of Gordon.
What about my blocked valves?
My broken boiler.
My gleaming green paint. My footplate.
Our valves.
We were here first.
Sorry, boss. Slip of the hook.
Fizzling fireboxes. Give Emily some room. Puff back. Puff back, please.
What about my blocked valves?
Then there was trouble. Black smoke and soot shot from Gordon's valves all over Sir Topham Hatt, who had just arrived in his bright blue car. Suddenly, Sir Topham Hatt's car wasn't bright blue anymore. It was black and sooty. Victor gasped.
Fizzling fireboxes.
Oh, the indignity!
Heaving hooks. Was that meant to happen, boss?
No, it was not.
Sir Topham Hatt was cross.
What are you doing, Victor? My car is ruined, and Gordon isn't fixed and ready to take the children to the docks. I thought you were really useful.
Victor felt terrible.
I'm sorry, sir. This is a disaster, and it's all my fault. I wanted to show you that I really am the best, that I am really useful. So I tried to do everything, and I ended up doing nothing.
Can I help, boss?
No, thank you, Kevin. Now I must do something.
Victor steamed sadly to Sir Topham Hatt.
Sir, if you will let me, I can have Gordon ready in time. Your car will be bright blue again, all the engines will be fixed, and I will be really useful again.
Sir Topham Hatt could see Victor was sorry.
Very well, Victor, but you'd better hurry.
Victor smiled.
Yes, sir. Right away, sir. Please, my friends, I have been silly. Now I ask you to help me. I can fix all of you, but I cannot fix all of you at the same time. Some of you will have to wait.
The engines hooted and tooted.
We'll all help you, Victor.
Standing by, boss.
Victor smiled at his friends.
Thank you. First of all, Gordon's valves must be cleaned.
What about my buffers?
Emily, my friend, your buffers are going to be beautiful for your visitor. Tomorrow, I will have them polished perfectly, but not today.
What about my broken boiler?
Victor smiled kindly at Edward.
Your boiler will be bubbling soon. Please wait.
Then Percy puffed up.
I really want to be gleaming green.
Victor chuckled.
I know you do, Percy. And you will be the greenest green there is. But maybe not today. Wait, please, with your friend Edward.
Harry and Bert creaked crossly.
We were here first!
I know you were, my friends. I have not forgotten you. After Gordon, it will be your turn.
This made Harry and Bert very happy. Then Victor chuffed to Thomas.
And your footplate, Thomas, my friend. I was silly to say I could fix it today.
Don't worry, Victor. I can easily come back tomorrow.
Thank you, Thomas.
Kevin trundled up.
Good work, boss.
Later, Victor looked happily around the steamworks. Then Sir Topham had arrived.
Sir, Gordon's valves are cleaned and his funnel is steaming.
Well done, Victor. I see you are once more a really useful engine.
That made Victor very happy.
Thank you, sir.
Boss, do you think I'm really useful?
Victor smiled.
Yes, you are, my friend. We are really useful together.